Annie Rowe Beck. Written by Annie Rowe Beck Binks. Annie Rowe Beck was born September 9, 1875, in Spanish Fork, Utah, to Owen J. and Ann Creer Rowe. Her mother and father were faithful Latter-day Saints. Grandmother Ann was of pioneer heritage and grandfather Owen J. was a convert to the church. He was of Welsh descent and she of English ancestry. They were the parents of 15 children. Annie Rowe was the eldest child. The Rowe home was of humble circumstances, and the children were taught the value of work as well as cooperating together doing family chores. The home was open to family and friends, and activities of all types of good entertainment were encouraged. Talents were discovered, improved, and developed. Annie, being the oldest daughter, assumed the responsibilities of leadership and taught her younger brothers and sisters well. The old Creer home in which the family lived, which was located on the corner of 600 North and 100 East, became too small as the family members increased and children needed more privacy. The old Sykes home, located on North and West, was purchased by Mother Ann and Owen J. Rowe. When their new home was finished next door, the final move was made. Mortar for the new adobe was used and the children helped in its preparation. This was the home in which Mother and Father Ann Creer Rowe and Owen J. spent their remaining years directing, caring for, and teaching the family members. Duties became an act as Annie learned from the careful instruction of her mother. Her mother taught her the arts of becoming a good homemaker, which at this time was a necessity. Mother Ann Creer taught Annie Rowe these arts: sewing, knitting, crocheting, candle making, soap making, canning, cooking, and the art of keeping a clean and orderly house. This developed into lifetime qualities of not only personal satisfaction, but a climb toward reaching her goal. Many are the beautiful quilts, dresses, shirts, suits, lace doilies, and lace panels that were her individual creation. Cultural talents were encouraged in the home, such as painting, music in many phases, good literature, singing, and developing musical groups, and along with good friends they experienced activities, friendships, and lots of sociability. Annie never received piano lessons but was self-taught as she learned to both piano and organ. If she could not read the notes, she would improvise using chords. She was blessed with a musical ear and could transpose and arrange for duets, trios, and choral group singing. At the age of 11, she was a member of the only dance orchestra in town. It was a dance orchestra organized by her father Owen J. and included other musical talents as Thomas Hutchings playing the fiddle, Rhys James on piccolo, and Owen J. Rowe, the clarinet. At this same time, she sang at the Old Tabernacle in Provo, participating in a Mutual Improvement Association concert. The concert was sponsored by the Utah Stake to raise funds to send Benjamin Clough on an LDS mission to the islands. She sang "Just a Penny to Buy Bread" and dressed in a costume as the song implied. Later, in her young teens, she became a member of the first organized Welsh chorus in Spanish Fork and participated with the group in the Old Provo Opera House, which was located between Main and First North in Provo. This Welsh chorus was the first Welsh Eisteddfod and became known for the singing talents it possessed. Many programs were presented to help future Welsh converts coming to Zion. She received a royal blue on white money bag as first prize in one of these concerts. As a young woman, she also worked along with her mother and father as they had opened a confectionery or candy store, and not only did she serve the delicacy to customers, she helped make and prepare the items of food. This was a new adventure, but proved profitable. Annie Rowe was one of the first to graduate from the Ideal School as a member of the class of 1889. This was the first 8th grade class from Spanish Fork schools. Her first cousin, Lily Morgan Rowe, was also a member of this class, and they were the dearest of friends for over 80 years. The teacher was Joseph Reese. She later attended the Brigham Young Academy and received her normal degree. She rode back and forth to Provo each day on a horse-side saddle. This saddle she had purchased from her first check. After receiving her normal degree, she taught in the Spanish Fork and Lakeshore schools. She taught in the elementary grades for over 5 years. From her mother and father, she inherited many outstanding and unusual talents. These she generously shared by serving as 3rd Ward chorister and choir director for many years. It is a matter of record that she was selected for these positions at 14 years of age. She later became organizer of many dramatic productions, cantatas, operettas, and minstrel shows. She was especially good at reaching the inactive young people, discovering their talents and making them active participants in ward programs and activities. Annie Rowe and Morgan Beck, after a courtship of 16 months, were married and sealed for time and eternity in the Salt Lake City Temple on April 8, 1903. They made their home in Spanish Fork soon after moving to Eureka, Utah. His father, John Forsyth Beck, was a holder of mining stock at Eureka in the silver mines and encouraged Morgan to follow in his footsteps. Due to mining conditions and poor health, father suffered from lead poisoning. Annie and Morgan returned to Spanish Fork and lived in Leland. They lived in a comfortable new 4-room home located near the site of the Leland rolling mills. Father became supervisor of the mill and enjoyed the work. His lead poisoning was healed, and he accepted and liked working in the fresh air and exercise. Again, they moved to Spanish Fork and purchased the corner of 4th North and 1st West on the old Sykes home, of which they remodeled, and which still remains standing. It was their lovable family home, and many happy occasions have been experienced by family members. Annie Rowe and Morgan Beck were the proud parents of 5 beautiful children. LaRue Beck, who later married Alex J. Jex, Mary Dale, who married Joseph D. Evans, Edward Morgan Beck, who married Grace Bowen, Ross Forsyth Beck, who married Irma Brown, and Annie Rowe Beck, who is married to Merrill Dean Binks. Annie Beck, as a member of the Spanish Fork 3rd Ward, has always been a conscientious church worker. She was taught early in life through the knowledge and belief in God that her parents possessed, and became wise through her own experiences by helping and doing good for others. After serving in early years as secretary in the primary organization, advancing to counselor in the ward primary, she then accepted the position of stake chorister in the Nebo stake. Later, she accepted the position of first counselor in the Stake Nebo Primary Association Board. When the Nebo stake was divided, she became president of the Palmyra L.D.E. Stake Primary Association. This position she held for 14 years. During this time, many lifelong friendships were made and contacts were inspirational. She deemed it a pleasure and honor to have worked under the guidance and priesthood authority of such men as President Henry A. Gardner, Dr. Wells Brockbank, and G. Ray Hales, who were Palmyra stake president and 2 counselors. She has served in 3 stakes of the LDS Church in Utah, Tintic, Nebo, and Palmyra stakes. In 1928, in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Primary Association, 400 individuals from Palmyra stake presidency, high councilmen, bishop of wards, and ward workers, as well as children from the various wards and the entire primary stake board, paraded down Salt Lake City Main Street with members of the other stakes of Zion. The division of the parade was carefully planned by Annie Rowe Beck, which depicted the saints crossing the plains and the growth of the valley. Continuing in this calling, she continued as president of the stake primary for 14 years, making it 51 years of service with God's children. Annie was invited by the General Primary Board to attend the June conference in the Salt Lake Tabernacle, and she was highly honored along with Aurelia Spencer Rogers. A special tribute was paid to both of them during that conference. Primary is not the only church organization with which she has been affiliated, because she also has worked as assistant superintendent of the early religion class of the 3rd Ward. She was treasurer and chorister in the Relief Society, as well as a visiting teacher. She served 2 tenure periods as chorister in the 3rd Ward, producing scores of operettas, cantatas, minstrel shows, choral group programs, as well as organizing other musical programs. In 1940, she suggested the Junior Sunday School program, and the 3rd Ward was the first in the Palmyra stake to adopt the plan. Annie Rowe Beck continued on as an ambitious, trustworthy, responsible individual. No matter which task or job she was asked to do, she did it well and to the best of her ability. She has served her Lord well. In 1955, she was selected as Personality of the Year by the Spanish Fork Kiwanis Club and was issued the Community Service Award. This was a tribute to her dedication and service to civic, church, and community projects. She experienced much happiness and joy, but also experienced many disappointments and discouragements. But like our precious pioneer ancestors, she tried hard to overcome them. She received great strength and consolation from her great belief in the power of prayer and the laying on of hands by those who are in the authority to give spiritual blessings. She has put into her life more determination and more genuine loyalty to serving and living righteously than any could think or imagine possible. As her daughter Annie Rowe Binks, I honor her for the love and tender care she gave my father Morgan Beck. She treated his health problems professionally. She also shared her tender feelings with her children, family, neighbors, and friends. She was very saddened by the death of her husband on June 2, 1945, and a short time later, her son Ross Forsyth Beck died July 24, 1945. Her husband died of a cerebral hemorrhage, and son Ross, in a terrible automobile accident. Some of her vim and vigor dwindled. On her 80th birthday, an open house was held for her at the family home at 90 West 400 North, Spanish Fork, Utah. She was delighted by the many family and friends that called to pay tribute to her. She died at age 83 in 1959 at Spanish Fork, Utah, and was buried in the Spanish Fork City Cemetery in August 1959. I honor by heritage and pay honor to my mother and grandmothers for the strength of character, reputation, and noble actions that each possessed. I honor my name by honoring my Father in heaven in trying to keep his commandments, and that I may enjoy eternal life in the companionship of those who have gone to rest before and those I love. I bow my head in reverence and gratitude to her and all who have helped her to make my spiritual and temporal blessings prosper. Annie Rowe Beck Binks.